Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to do some watercolor painting this evening. And tonight I'm going to be painting, where is it at? I'm going to be painting some tubes of watercolor paint. I think it's going to be a nice, interesting way to do some shadow, some reflection. Maybe we can do some lifting and some a little extra highlighting on there. Definitely get into some layering. I think it's going to be an interesting experiment in how to do some or all of that. Before we get started, let me tell you, I'm using some Fabriano Studio watercolor paper. Jennifer is here. Jen's Wild About Art. Hello. Welcome all the way from Australia. And Carrie is here from Australia. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining me in the studio this evening. Glad to have you here. So using my Fabriano Studio watercolor paper. Over on this side, my favorite M. Graham paints. Looks like maybe I could have cleaned my palette just a little bit. And maybe for the last time, I don't know, I'm going to keep using my Da Vinci Casaneo brushes. I do like these brushes, but more and more I keep wanting to go back to my King Art brushes. I don't know. The King Art brushes are just so nice. Jennifer, you're on my lunch break. Yeah, I'm glad you could make it on your lunch break. Thank you for taking the time away from your lunch to join me. So with that, I'm just going to jump in and I'm going to do kind of a first layer on a whole lot of this. And I'm going to do just a basic, a silvery gray, a really light gray. And I actually took the picture, this reference photo up here. Whoop, that's mine. Here are those three colors. And so when we need to take a look at these a little bit closer, I'm going to pull these out so we can see some of the reflected light in a few of these. But while we get to that point, or before we get to that point, I'm going to mix up a gray here. I'm going to try to mix my own gray, which I do like to do. And I'm going to take the two hardest colors on my palette to try and do that. I'm going to take phthalo green, and I'm going to use a little bit of alizarin crimson. And I happen to really like the gray that these two make. It's a warm gray. Natalie is here. Hello, Natalie. Thank you for taking the time to join me this evening. I'm busily mixing my own gray for that reference photo there. And you can see it makes this nice watery or warm gray here. If we don't like it, if it's a little too warm for us, we can just add a touch of blue. It'll cool it way down for us. And actually, that little bit of blue, I think, really did a wonderful job here. I'm going to stop mixing right there and put a wash on. I'm looking up and I'm looking at my screen and my colors are blinking again. Red and yellow and green. My internet comes from my garage over the air and into the house, and I've got two teenagers in the house, so they may be using some of the bandwidth at the moment. So I'm hoping we're gonna be able to stay on track. I just want to put all of this area that's gray. I just want to cover this all up. Right, I'm not going to worry too much about what individual gray is here. Natalie, you are about to get in the spa, but there's a storm rolling in, so you'll wait a bit. I wish I could get in the spa. That'd be pretty nice. There's a storm rolling in. We feel like there's going to be a storm here where I'm at in California, but we got ours last weekend, so I think we're done until about November with any kind of storm that we would have. Look, this is a nice neutral gray that we've got going on here. And I'm not trying to be too careful with it. I just want to get it color on here. And anybody who's here, you know me, Jen. Oh, his mom would be lovely. It would be lovely. Jen, if you want to, you can put your links to your channel in the comments there. And I just want to make sure you know that if you want to ask any questions, throw them out there. I love answering questions. That's one of the nice things about doing a live broadcast is you get to answer questions from everybody. And if you can't get them in there for some reason, Jen, let me know and I'll go and find them and put them in there at some point while I'm waiting for some paint to dry, and I'll go get them, put them in there for you. But those of you who don't know, Jen is I would say, and you can agree or disagree with me, you're primarily a nature painter. And illustrator. What do you say? A drawerist. You do a lot of nature drawings, animals, and whatnot, and they turn out lovely. And again, I think I mentioned it last time. If anybody wants to see her channel, it'll be there. Either she'll put it up there or I'll put it up there in a couple of minutes. And she does a lot of line and wash, which I don't do so much of. I've done a few times, but I guess the difference is she's really good at it. And I'm just not. I guess the way Susie's here. Hello. Nature artist. There you go. A nature artist. And it's all lovely. Natalie, my daughter and her family flew into San Diego just in time for Hurricane, Hurricane Hillary. Wow. I had a coworker who drove down to LA that weekend for his mother-in-law's birthday party. He was not too happy about it. I won't mention who it is. Excuse me. Wildlife artist. There you go. And it looks like I'm getting a message that my data stream is low. I hope if anybody is getting a little glitch in here, I apologize. I will, I'll get that cleaned up in just a second. While I'm waiting for this to dry, I'm happy to do this. I'm going on my screen over here, and I'm gonna go to my subscriptions because subscribe to her channel, and I am going to I'm gonna get her channel. Copy, and here you go. Paste. Oh, there it is. There is Jen's channel. Jen's Wild About Art. So anybody who has an interest in that, please go visit her channel. She's fantastic, like I said before. Okay. So I've got some gray on here now. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I've got some gray on here. And you can see when I added some blue, it's got some more blue tint up here. It's a little warmer down here. Doesn't really matter. We're going to put on a number of different layers on here, really build this up. This is just our base color. And so we're okay with it. I'm even okay with these couple of tide lines down here. I think these are going to add some interest, and there are some really hard lines going back and forth across the bottom of this little guy. If you can see that, where I've crimped it with a tool to get all that paint out of there. Let's see. I was going to pull up that picture for just a second, but here you go. Liza, you thought of a question. Okay, a good question. If you were a if I were a coor, what color would I be? If I were a coor, if I were a color, oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking, I was, I was thinking core, like the paint. If I were a color of paint, what color would I be? I can answer that because it's one of my. Oh, look, here's a restaurant in my hometown. I would be. I can show you. I love this color. Fantastic. I would be turquoise. Look at that. Oh, it's a beautiful color. I don't think it gets used nearly enough, but look at it. It's beautiful. It comes way down. You can blend it way down. It is such a bright, vibrant, lovely. There's a lot of life in that color. I love the color turquoise. And so that reminds me, I should probably do this, right? Here are my palette colors. They are coming right over there. You can see all of those. Guinea piggers. Turquoise. Such a lovely color. Okay, what was I going to do? Oh, I was going to do this. Let's see. I was going to pull this up and let you see it a little bit bigger. Now, I took that right on my desk where you normally see me paint, and you can see down on the bottom of the blue paint tube, there could be a little turquoise down there. There's some different colors down there, and just as we work our way up from the bottom, there are some ochres, maybe a few reds inside of that gray, and as we work up into the middle tube, there are definitely some blues on the left-hand side and some purples on the right-hand side of that. So we've got a lot of colors we can work with as we're doing this. So I'm really excited about that. And then I've got, this little one over here is burnt sienna, and this one over here. The real color is Antwerp blue. And this one is Payne's Gray, but we don't need to make them that color if we don't want to. We might still do it, but not if we don't want to. Did somebody ask a question about my brushes? Did I look up and see that? Liza, you would have guessed blue, but turquoise is best. Who did somebody ask a question? Let's see. Oh, yeah, I see. You asked about Jen's guinea pigs. Oh, that she just did. Uncle 60. Oh, Uncle 60, are you still here? Small brushes. Interesting. I do like these brushes. They're so nice. They hold a ton of water. They act kind of like a squirrel hairbrush, but they're really easy to use. Okay, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of dirty up, just however, the paper on this tube of paint. I think I can do that reasonably well. Yes, I'm going to turn my page so it's easy to make these brush strokes. It'll help to distribute the water a little bit here. Tell us about the brushes. Okay, so I love my big old, I'm going to do the same thing over here. I love my big old squirrel mop brushes, right? I think everybody ought to have some. They are wonderful. But because they carry so much water and because they have a really kind of flexible bristle to them, right? Squirrel hair is really malleable, right? I've got several on my desk. Here's a bigger one. It's a smaller one. Do I have an even smaller one than that up here? I've got this one. Let's see, that's Da Vinci. These two are Balick. What's this one? Is this a Winsor & Newton? I think this is probably a Dana. I've got a number of them. For the paintings the size I do, these are probably as big as you want. I could hold so much water in this that I could probably cover most of this page with one swab of water here. Jennifer says, I have to head back to work. It was lovely to watch for a little while. I have an amazing stream. Thank you, Jen. I hope to catch up with you on the weekend. I tuned in Sunday night. I don't know if you streamed over on Twitch on Sunday night. I tried to tune in. I probably was a little too late. I had a lot of family stuff to do. But I hope to catch up with you soon again. But thank you for stopping by. You love a mop brush. But I love these. They are wonderful brushes. They hold a lot of water. Most of them come to a pretty good point, but when they get wet, it's hard to, I'm not always the most delicate person. I try to drag my pinky a lot if I have to do a fine line with them, just to give a little stability, but they're really flexible. And so I was looking for a brush that had similar properties, but maybe didn't bend quite so much. And this was one that I stumbled upon. I had previously purchased some Da Vinci brushes, like this one, that were Kolinsky Sable, right? The bristles are distinctly a different color here. And I found them really enjoyable. They have a kind of a triangulated handle here, makes it really easy to grip and draw with. Is anybody getting me? I just looked up and I'm buffering on mine, on my view of what I'm doing. Let me refresh that. Maybe you're all good. And so I wanted to try these. Anyways, these are a synthetic hair brush that are really, they really hold a lot of water. They, in many ways, they act just like squirrel hair, but they have this nice grip on them. So I gave them a try. But for me, I couldn't quite get as fine a point on them as I would like. So many times I really want to get into a tight corner and really, you don't need to, but I really get into a tight corner, and I can do that with these pointed rounds like the ones that I got from King Art. You can also do it with the silver black brushes. And what other ones do I have up here that I can do it with? I think those are basically the ones I have up here. But every now and again, I will stop what I'm doing and I will come back and revisit older brushes to say, hey, my painting may have changed. Did my desire to use a specific brush change? And sometimes it has, and sometimes it hasn't, and that's okay. Let's see. You know what? In honor of turquoise, I'm not going to paint this one Antwerp blue over here. In order to keep the stream going, I'm gonna paint this one turquoise. Liza, I hope that answered your question about these brushes in particular. I will admit that I have been called a brush snob, and so I am a little particular about my brushes. And yes, I do have what I would consider one of the grail brushes in watercolor painting. And you know how they say you should never meet your heroes? I'm widely disappointed with the brush. It just never quite lived up to its expectation for me. That is this one Right here, the Winsor & Newton Series 7 Kolinsky Sable Round Brush. It looks okay, but the tip of it just has never, ever comes to a point. In fact, this is the second one of these I had. The first one I got, I was so disappointed. I sent it back, and they sent me the next one, and it did the same thing, and I tried to send this one back, and they said they wouldn't take it back, and so now I have one that is... that isn't so great. Susie Princeton has one that is round and gives you a good point, a long round with a good point. Oh my God, Liza, you're saying it's terrible too. You have a Winsor & Newton Series 7 that's terrible. Oh, I don't know. They're just built up to be these wonder brushes, and they look great, and so disappointed. Okay, this one, I actually wrote burnt umber on this one, so I do need to paint a little bit on here. And like I said, I'm going to try to keep moving a little bit here. I will readily admit I love the conversation, but I do kind of want to keep things rolling along a little bit, because I get up really early, and like, my body just says at about 4:30, yeah, I think it's time to get up, whether I'm tired or not. And so late nights for me sometimes are really late nights. All right, there we go. So there's burnt umber there. And those non-pointy brushes are good for super loose paintings. That's true. Well, I say you're saying that Winsor brush is the worst one you ever purchased. I feel your pain. I'm so disappointed in that brush. Okay. Okay. Bad brushes aside, good brushes aside. Liza, Susie, you want to be a loose painter, but you're too controlling in life, so it's a battle. Well, painting loose paintings is tough, regardless of whether you like to do it in real life or any life or anything. It's a different skill set, and it's hard to master. You really need to stay with it. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start painting this middle one over here, and I'm going to put some water on it so we can play with some gray here. So I'm going to do this. All right, I've got a bigger brush. She's just going to allow me to get water on there a little bit more quickly. That's all. And I'm going to wet this, and that's going to give us the opportunity to do a little wet in wet and maybe give up a little bit of control here. Not too much. But see what we can do with this. And if you can see, let's see if I can tip it. There you go. You can see it's nice and wet there. See, I'll grab this one because it's right next to me. In fact, it might be a little too wet. Let's take a little bit of that off of there. I think that's going to be fine. Okay, and I want to make sure I've got my gray here, which I'm working with. Alizarin Crimson, super strong alizarin crimson is, with a little bit of this phthalo green. It's going to give us a nice gray, and if we want to cool it down a little bit, I'm probably mixing a little bit more than we need. Want to cool it down a little bit, I'm just going to add a little bit of blue. Let's see, Natalie, you were at Hobby Lobby. What happened to you at Hobby Lobby? And they were trying to get rid of Winsor Newton product. Ooh. Anytime you can get some extra paints or brushes or anything on the cheap, so much the better. I'm a big fan of going to garage sales, yard sales, any kind of sale where there may have been an artist of some type, and trying to add to my collection from their collection, if that makes any sense. But getting them new, especially if you can get them at Hobby Lobby, reputable place, then that's always good too. Let's see, I'm just going to put some color on here right down the sides, and you can kind of see over there. I'm going to let this, I'm going to do everything I can not to monkey with this too much and let this do its own thing. I think I need just a touch more of this red in here. There, I think that's pretty good. Maybe need a little extra mixing. And I'm just gonna keep trying to mix in a couple of these colors. Let's see, here and there. As long as this is a little wet, we can continue to work and play with this a little bit. And everywhere that I want there to be kind of an indentation in the metal, I can put a little bit of color on there. Looks like it started to dry a little bit around the sides. So I'm just going to grab that and make that blend out a little bit on its own. Come down that way, and I think that's pretty good. You can see it's got some definite waviness to it there. I think I'm going to try the same thing on this side. Michael, let's see, Liza. Windsor Newton used to be a staple in craft stores. Used to coupons to buy watercolor paint. No more. Yeah, no more. Watercolor paints have gotten really expensive. Michael, I rarely see art supplies at rummaging here. Lots of artists in my town. Craigslist. Every now and again, I do see it at, well, so, I'm kind of cheating a little bit, right? Let's be honest. I live on the ocean, or by the ocean, not on the ocean, very close to it. And lots of people come here to paint pictures of my little town, and the artist community here is pretty big. So there are quite a few artists that live here. So a couple of things, right? I'm probably going to see quite a few in my town. And I should also say this was a big retirement community too. So there are a lot of retirees that live here and retired artists that live here. So that might help. And the other thing is in addition to what was I going to say? In addition to garage sales, every time or every weekend that I want to venture out to see if there are art supplies, Craigslist is my friend, and I will hit up Craigslist to see if there are any sales out there from artists who might want to list. That there will be, everybody lists stuff that is likely to be at their sale, the stuff you might find at their sale and whatnot. And oftentimes around here, they will list art supplies, and I don't always fight to be the first person there, but usually when I get there, there are still a few bits of art supplies left here and there, and I'm happy to go through them. I went to one estate sale in the next town over, and I think I talked about it a couple of years ago. I bought about $300 worth of art supplies at that estate sale. It turned out for me to be fantastic. It was lovely. I got bunches of sheets of paper. I've got I don't know how many tubes of paint. I don't know that I've ever counted them, but I literally I walked in, I went through the cabinet and everything, and I walked over to the guy at the desk and I went, how much for all of it? I go, I'll take all the paint, I'll take all the paper, I'll take any brushes that you have. Just let me know how much it is. And the guy was like, I don't think he really knew, really expected that somebody was going to do that. And so I got that, I got all that, and I got it's a portfolio holder, you know, like a big thing that folds out. Got all of that for roughly $300. That was a pretty good one. Let's see. Susie Moon, eBay is a gamble. Yeah, eBay is a gamble. Let's see. I found some paints on eBay, but it's always a gamble. Yeah, it is. eBay is Liza, you got some knockoff Daniel Smiths. That's not so good. Laura, did you get the brush show yet? Laura did get the brush show. Let's see. I'm in Maryland outside DC. I don't know a single soul who paints here. Yeah, you never see used art supplies. That's an issue. It really, right. So I think if I lived anywhere else, I don't know that I would see a whole lot of art supplies. I think it's only because I live here. Shoot, you can go to my hardware store here. And the hardware store in my town probably has, I don't know why they have it, I'm not exactly sure, but they probably have as good or better art supplies in my hardware store than most art supply stores have. Every time I go in there, I'm astounded at what they have. And they must sell it or they wouldn't carry it, I have to believe, right? That's just kind of, oops, you know what? I want to use this same color, maybe on a little bit of the top up here too. This is Sennelier, is that right? Oh no, this is Holbein. Oh, that's my, there's an eBay story for you. I bought some Holbein paints off of eBay. And I thought they turned out to be pretty good. See, I'm gonna try to get a couple of lines. Actually, let me do this first. I'm going to see if I can do a little bit of lifting on here. Some lines as they come across. Maybe I can do this, maybe I can't. Sometimes I have a little better luck with some lifting than other times. That's not so bad. And then I'm going to put a little bit of dark in there kind of to enhance that. Same mix. These are just all a mix of all of my dark neutrals there. So I'm hoping this is going to look like it's been squeezed a little bit. I think it kind of does. Oh, that kind of looks like it's been squeezed. Right? From that to that, that's pretty close. I can live with that. It's lifting well. It's lifting. Fingers crossed. It's lifting some. And look at our this is mostly dry. Excuse me. You can see our right up here, we've definitely got some lighter areas and some darker areas. The same thing down here. We'll have to go over and enhance that a little bit. But I think we're getting there. I think it's looking good. What else can we talk about? I'm going to paint the cap of this. Oh, I'll tell you my whole bind story. I used to have a job where I wasn't asked to do all that much, right? I was using about, I hate to say this, but about 10% of my ability at my work. I wasn't being asked to do that much. And the couple of guys I worked with knew that if ever there was to come a time when some work really needed to get done, I would drop anything I do, anything I was doing to go over and get that work done. And so they would allow me to indulge my fantasies in in searching eBay for art deals or for whatever, right? For whatever struck me that I wanted to buy. And so I would search the used art section, right? I don't know if anybody even knows there's a used art supplies on eBay. I guess everybody kind of does. But I was like, well, I want to get some things and try them out, and I don't know if they're going to be good or if they're going to be bad, and I'll give it a go and see what it's like. And I bought a set of Holbein paints that had been opened, but one of the colors was about a third of the way used, and I don't even remember what color it was. It was a 24 pack of Holbein paints, and I went, I'll take a splurge on it. And this was about 10 years ago, and I bought it for I want to say $35 or $40 or something like that. And I looked online to see what the real price was, and it was 100 and something. And I was like, holy cow! I brought them back. Lovely paints. Lovely paints. I still have them. They're in a pallet over here. This is not one of the set, but I've been continually shocked at how much I have gotten out of some of those sets. Let's see, this is still a little bit damp. I'm just touching it, and I can kind of feel it. I turn my hand over this way. It still feels a little cool, so I don't want to do too much with it. Liza, you have only one art store left in your area. 2 are closed. Holy cow. This summer I went to an estate sale, didn't get art supplies, but did get an excellent real scissors. Made in America years ago, not the dollar store stuff. Oh, I'm not going to say that my wife is a scissor nut. I'm like, just give me anything that'll cut. She's got specific criteria on what makes a good pair of scissors and what makes a bad pair of scissors, and I try to stay out of it. I don't know anything about scissors. But it always makes me happy that when people find things at estate sales or yard sales or something like that. I mean, half the stuff still has a lot of life in it, right? And if that people don't sell it, then I hope they take it to a thrift store or a Goodwill and donate it or something like that. But more oftentimes, I feel like the stuff just gets thrown away, and I'm not one who likes things to get thrown away. So it always makes me happy when things can get recycled that way and find a new home and some new uses. I used to see a buddy of mine at work, and my wife is a big Sherry is here. Hello, Sherry. My wife is a big Goodwiller, and she would come home with a whole bunch of clothes and whatnot. She'd go, "Oh, I found this. You can, if you like this, you can wear it. If not, I'll resell it or I'll find a home for it, whatever." I'd put something on and wear it to work. One guy, a buddy of mine, he'd see me and he'd look at me. He'd go, "Is that new or Goodwill?" I go, "No, it's, my wife got it for $4 on Goodwill." He goes, "God, I don't understand how she does it." Because I go there and everything looks the same to me, and I'm like, I kind of get that. I know certain things, and I'm pretty good at picking out certain things, but man, my wife, when she goes there, she finds deals everywhere. It's a talent, I guess. One I wasn't born with. All right, I'm trying to give some color to this top up here. I don't want it to be, you know, no, it can't be white because the background is white. It needs to have a bit of a color. So I'm trying to find a bit of color for it, but I don't want it to be just blue because just blue is just, not that exciting. But I think if I do a little bit of something to it, we can touch this up and make it look nice under here. Something like that. It looks like there's a top on there now. Let's see, Michael, every time I go to Goodwill, I pray I will find good art supplies. Haven't but me. I found a couple of, this isn't Goodwill. This is at our similar thing. It's called Achievement House here in my town. And I found some connoisseur paintbrushes, watercolor brushes. I'd never heard of them before. Excuse me. They sell things at a deep discount. So I bought them for $1 a piece or something like that. I got home and found out that each of the brushes was worth between 10 and 20 bucks. I was like, yes. Natalie, when you go, you open every wooden box just in case there are. Yeah, I would open it just in case there's like a Picasso inside. Look in every pocket, jacket pocket. There's so many stories of people finding all kinds of treasures at all of these Goodwills around the country. Minty is here. Hello. Natalie says, I'm sorry, Eliza, this is Natalie. I hope you get very lucky. I do too. I hope you get lucky, and I hope you come back and you share your luck with all of us. And I say that totally knowing that I've probably been as lucky as anybody in finding art supplies. I totally get that. But I can revel in somebody else's story too, so that's always good. Okay, not sure what I was talking about. Oh, we might be just about dry enough up here. So I'm gonna look at our gray here. It's a little bit more blue in it, I think. I think that's pretty good. And so I want to look at the reference photo. In fact, let's look at this real quick again. Where is it? There we go. Now I can't annotate it, but on the tube in the middle, which is the one I'm looking at, you can see there's a distinct pattern to the darks, the reflected area, the dark area on that middle tube. So that's what I'm going to try to get to as I go over here. Right, so I'm going to take this color, and it may not be dark enough. I don't think it is. I'm going to use a little bit of neutral tint, and I'm going to kind of find the line that this goes down on this left-hand side, and we've definitely marked some of it out. And of course, the real thing about this is if we don't get it right, it's no big deal. We're not trying to duplicate it. It'd be nice if we got something that approximated it, but you've all heard me talk about it before. I don't want to duplicate what's there. I want to pay homage to what is there with what I can come up with. So I'm going to blend that out a little bit there and a little bit here. If we have still a little bit of a hard edge, I'm going to kind of be okay with that. There we go. So now you can see, if you look up there, I know it's very small, and you look here, now you can see that deep reflection that's in there, or start to see that deep reflection. All right, I'm going to mix up a little bit more. These are all my colors I was using before. Come on, a little bit more green in there. Get my gray. Come on, a little bit of blue. How many people are we at now? 10 people. This is a lively discussion with 10 people. Laura is saying, you did a squat. Okay, so Laura, now you have to tell us, you did your swatch with your brusho, right? That's what we're talking about. So the question is, did you laugh the whole time, or were you frustrated the whole time that you were trying to use the brusho? Because brusho can lead to fits of both. Which was it? I'm curious. I think I said I have found my peace with brusho. I use it for some very specific things, and I don't use it all that often just because it's maddening from time to time, because it will not do what you want in any way, shape, or form. Having said that, it is a really cool medium. It's exceedingly cool, and for those people who can master it, or maybe not even master it, you haven't. Let's see, I can't wait to find something that was with an explosion of color, which is what it is. It's the explosion for sure. I think we all want a brusho report when you get it, because it's one of those things. So let me just blend this. Maybe I should have re-wet this whole thing. I feel like I'm doing a little extra blending here that maybe I shouldn't have had to do. But I think maybe only part of this is my fault. It is so hot in here. Look, it's 80 something here by the old studio thermometer. You love color. I think I did well keeping it where I want. You think you did well keeping it where you wanted it, but I haven't watched a lot of videos on it. Yeah. Brusho it's one of those things. Well, I'm curious to know how it's gonna go. All right, I feel like I'm repeating myself now all of a sudden. I don't know why. Okay, I think this one, we're gonna pre-wet this whole thing. Let's get some clean water on here. Let's not make the same, I don't want to say mistake. Let's not make the same challenge for ourselves, right? On this one. Laura, if I knew how to do it, I would have you on here with me and we would have a brusho off. How about that? But you're off the hook, and so am I, because it would be tough for me too. Because I don't know, I'm not exactly sure how to do that. And yes, I realize that by saying that, somebody's going to go, oh, I know exactly how you do it, blah, 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 and then I'm going to have to do it. Let's see. You just need a pinhole in the top, right? Sherry says in the pinhole at the top of the brusho so you can use it for a while. You can use it for a little texture, or else you will ruin your paint. No, 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 not ruin. Not ruin. Enhance. Enhance your painting. It will be greatly enhanced. Greatly enhanced by the brusho. Let's see, I had a little extra blue down here. I'm going to put some of that back in. I think like this. And I want that hard edge there because that is where it's folded over. Boop, boop, boop. Right there. Okay, I think we got enough. I think from here on out, we've got enough darks on here. And it's blended out pretty nicely. We can go back and we can put in some of the sharper boop, boop, darks in here. Give us some bigger, better angles, I think. But I am going to put just a little bit more over on this side to try to differentiate these two from each other. I put a little bit more color here. There we go. Now, you can easily see, without adding too much to it, that there are two distinct layers here, right? That's what I'm trying to say. Look, very good. Let's see. Sherry says, you're always sorry you used it. You were glad you only bought two colors. No, that can't be true. Please tell me that's not really true. What you mean was, you just haven't found the proper application to use it with, right? It's I don't know what kind of a madman invented it, but you got 15 but 2-leaf greens. Oh, so did you get the same? 16? I was gonna say, I think that's the same pack I have, but I think I only have 12 colors. I don't think I have 15. Ooh, does that look like a... that makes that look round. That's what I'm trying to say, doesn't it? I think it does. See if we can get a little color without putting too much over here. Make this look a little rounder too. What do you think about that? Let's put some of this up top up here. I feel I'm already to the time where I'm trying to add details. I need a detail here and there. I need something to set it off, to define a few edges, to, you know, give it a little something something. That looks pretty good. Look, that looks like the screw on top. There you go. Kind of looks like that. Oh, if I hold it right there, it's almost the same size. Look. I don't know if you can see the whole thing. The caps are looking great. Thank you. And so one of the things I try to practice in my personal life is, and I learned this late in life, is giving gratitude. And so I'm just going to tell you, I had a long day today. One of the longest days I've had, and I came home from work and I was so tired. And my wife always asks me, "Are you going to do the stream today?" I'm always like, "Oh, yeah, I'm going to do the stream. I'm tired, but I'm going to do it." And last week, same thing. I came out here and started screaming, started the stream, and you guys made me feel so good for the whole time that I did it. And you're doing the same thing again this week. It makes my whole Wednesday. So, there's only 9 of us here right now, but I just want to say thank you for all being so kind and so welcoming and so nice to spend my Wednesday evening with. It really does make this a lot more fun than if I were to just come out and sit here on a Wednesday night by myself, listening to a podcast and doing some painting, which I'm always happy to do. But you guys do make it much more enjoyable to come and do this. And I try to read everything that comes on up there, and I know I miss some, and if I do, I'm sorry. But you're always anyway. You guys are always so so nice and accommodating to spend an hour or so with me on a Thursday, and I'm just feeling thankful for it. So thank you for all of that. You nice folks in the chat too. Everybody's so nice who comes to see me. Yes, thank you everybody in the chat, everybody who shows up every Wednesday, or has been showing up every Wednesday. I greatly appreciate it. So thank you. This is when my son was growing up. Had to learn a little sign language. That's thank you. One of the few things I still remember. So much appreciated for this time. All right, I'm going to start putting on a couple of hard edges here. And where is it at? Okay, it's over there. And I had to do a little bit of this the other evening. I didn't have to, but I wanted to do a little bit of this. It's a lot of thank you, Sherry. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Margaret and Liza and Laura and whoever else is in. I don't know who else is in here still, but I mean, you guys are saying thank you to me. I feel like I'm the one who needs to be saying thank you to you all. Because I'm just the guy who comes and talks for an hour. You guys are the ones who come and make it enjoyable for that amount of time. So, all right. So I got a few harder lines in here, and I'm going to put a couple in here like this. Maybe aren't exactly where we had them before, but I think maybe they'll help to give some definition here and there. We do need a couple of these harder lines as we are putting in some of the reflections. I don't exactly know why it helps, because I guess when things get a little crinkly, there are just naturally a few of these hard lines in there. So I'm going to put a couple of these in here, and it does help if you put them in some kind of geometric fashion. Helps a little bit. That looks pretty crinkly right there, right? Let's see. Liza, my dog can't hear. I have been teaching her sign language, and she gets it. Wow, that's astounding. My son was a late talker, and my wife and I'm going to give my wife credit because, she's smarter than I am. She was like, I know he knows a lot of stuff. He just can't get it out. And, I'm like, well, okay, how do we, what do we do about that? And she was like, well, I'm going to start this baby signing time stuff. And, it's a video. Right? You put a video on and he sits in front of the TV or sat in front of the TV and started watching baby signing time. And I was like, oh God, he's going to be hooked on TV. Because I'm not a big TV person, and I'm like, I don't know that I want our kids to be that big of a TV person. But within the first, God, hour and a half, he'd already learned so many signs, and we're done with that session or with that CD, and we're like, hey, it's time to go to bed. And he's like, oh, no. He's going like this, more. He and then he started. He was 2, and what's amazing about that is he would then start telling jokes to us in sign language, and so my wife and I had to learn sign language so we could understand what he was saying, which meant we ended up watching it with him. But he was 2, and I don't mean to. I don't say that going, oh, my son is really cool in anything. What I mean to say is the ability to learn things is so innate into us that even if we can't speak or your dog can't hear or anything like that, we all have this innate ability to learn things and to want to learn things. And it's such a cool thing. So I think it's extremely cool. my wife sounds extremely cool. My wife, in many respects, is obviously much cooler than me and a much better person than me. And she does everything she can to keep me in check, and I do everything I can to continue to try to tell her that she's doing a great job. How's that? You love it that your dog learned. I mean, it's not amazing that your dog can learn, but it's amazing when you think that as people, we're so conditioned to think of learning in one singular direction or one singular thing, and then you flip it on your you flip that whole thing on its head and you see someone or something just blossom because they've gotten an opportunity to learn in a way that works for them. So that's extremely cool. All right, I don't know how my crinkles on here turned out. I don't think they turned out so good. Kids are so smart. Kids are smart. It's hard when you can't communicate right. People underestimate that children understand because they can't talk it. That's exactly it. We knew he was smart. We could tell he was smart. He was doing simple math and stuff at 2, right? And my wife and I are reveling in the fact that, wow, he's doing all this stuff. And then we're like, but how do we facilitate this going on, because we can't, there's obviously a communication barrier there. And so she did the research and found that out, and we've been on the go with him ever since. And even to this day, my wife and I joke that kids are smart regardless of what you do with them. It's us people, I'm looking up there, I should be looking over here. It's us grown-ups that do whatever we can to kind of dumb them back down. Seemingly sometimes we put barriers in their way to learning, and for whatever reason we seem to excel at doing some of that, and she's done so much not to put up any of those barriers with either of our kids, so she gets all the credit and I don't. How did I meet my wife? It is not any kind of an exciting story or anything. I met her at a pub in Seal Beach, California, which is just south of Long Beach, and we kind of hit it off from the beginning. And almost a year to the day after we met, we got married and moved to where we are now, and been here ever since. It's not the greatest story in the world. It's not a bad story, but there's really not much to it. I don't have any idea what she ever saw in me or continues to see. I don't know how that goes. But thankfully, there was something there. And I don't know that that leaves us where we are. I think I've told everybody before, she's the actual artist in the family, right? I just play around and do whatever. She's got an actual degree in art, right? She studied it for 4 years at school. She's had many jobs where she got to do her arts, and I'm just some guy who does funny videos on YouTube. Let's see. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get my pen out here. No, you know what? Before I do that, I'm gonna get a liner brush. Let me get this one, and I want to put some things on. Now I'll tell you, she's got. How long ago did we meet? 17 years. How's that? I know that one. 17 years ago we met. Oh, no, that's wrong. We've been married 17 years. We met 18 years ago. Okay, don't tell her I got that wrong. Don't tell her. Don't. If you're watching this part of the video, Krista, if you're watching this part of the video, turn it off. Don't listen. I don't think. Did you do art before you met her? So that is a great question. The answer is yes-ish. Does that solve everything? So here's the answer. I did badly. I was doing a computer job at the time, and I was looking for a way to not to digitalize my life at some point. And I was working at Long Beach State. I went down to the art department and I said, hey, what do you got here that I can do, set up quickly, clean up quickly, and looks kind of cool? And the guy went, watercolors. And he sold me, I don't know, $50 of different watercolors. And so I would go home and I'd do little paintings like this big, like 2 inches by 2 inches, and that's all they were. And I'd have a notebook full of that kind of stuff, and and that was it. And that was the extent of my art before my wife and I met. And after we met, she was like, she found one of my books and she started looking through it and she went, oh, by the way, this isn't too bad, and blah blah blah. And then after we got married, and we were here in our home on the Central Coast, we went to in fact, we have it in our town this weekend, Art in the Park. Because it's Labor Day, Memorial Day, whatever day is coming up. And we were walking around and I went, I could do that. I could do that. I've no doubt I could do that. And she went, listen, either do it or don't. And if you're not going to do it, stop talking about it. And if you are going to do it, just do it and stop talking about it. And I went, okay. And that's when I really dove into watercolor painting. Dana says, hello, Michael. Are you going to be on every Wednesday from now on? maybe not every Wednesday, but yes, that is my plan to be on nearly every Wednesday from now on in perpetuity. Yes, yes. To answer your question, I'm planning on being on every Wednesday. Sherry, you got married on 11/11/11. Wow. He chose it so you wouldn't forget the anniversary. Smart guy. I got a funny story for you. How about this? My wife and I got married before our wedding. And that really threw everybody off. We're glad you're back. Thank you. I told you, I actually am. I'm very glad to be back. So my wife and I got married before our wedding. We had a quiet little ceremony, and my best friend growing up performed a service for us, and I shouldn't say this. It was actually in his kitchen. We were actually married in his kitchen, and signed the paperwork and everything like that, right? And then when the actual wedding day came, let's see, I'm going to try to do this with a rigger brush. The Winsor Newton one here has some more detailed drawing on it. I was going to do it with a pen, but I'll try to do some of it with this. When our actual wedding day came, and we had to, get up and exchange our vows and everything. Yeah, everything was great. And my mother was there, and she's going, "Aren't you going to sign the paperwork?" And I went, "Hadn't planned on it." So, my poor mother. So for about, I don't know, 5 years or so, we just kept telling her we weren't really married. She thought we weren't married. Have I written any watercolor books? I have. No, I haven't written any watercolor books. I have planned to write a watercolor book. I have, I think, 16 chapters of book written out, nearly finished, and it needs to be illustrated, which, for whatever reason, I haven't done yet. Let's see, how does this guy go? You got that lion here. That's funny. That doesn't look too bad. Okay, so what color should I make this? I think I want to make that. I'm going to make that one of my favorites. Anybody want to guess? Yeah, I'm very talented. I don't know. I'm somewhat talented. I'll agree to being somewhat talented. I think a lot of it just has to do with being able to stick with watercolors for quite a long time. I'm going to paint it phthalo green. Right? Because I've been painting for 10 years or so. No, hold on. Wow, I've been painting 20 years, really, or so. Let's see. I guess, when did I really start? I just told the story. I'm trying to think. My wife and I have been married 17 years, so it's almost 18 years that I've kind of really been painting in earnest rather than just monkeying with it. And for a number of those years, I really tried to figure out, what painting was, right? What watercolors are. How's the best way to use them? What kinds of things should I be looking for in watercolors? What should I know how to do? What are the basic techniques? There were so many of the little things that I wanted to just have down pat, that I think served me really well in my painting and would serve anybody well. But maybe I took a different approach to trying to understand it, or and I'm not saying that others haven't, but maybe it's stuck with me. Maybe I've got a good way of learning something. Anyways, I think I just had a strong desire to learn about watercolors and painting and techniques and stuff like that that maybe not everybody has had, and I think that has served me really well. And phthalo is it's a wonderful pop of color, right? It's so bright, it's in your face, and it's a wonderful contrast to the dull gray kind of the paint tube, right? Not that there's anything wrong with the tube. It's just not a bright, vibrant color. It's not. Let's see. Maybe there's some of this blue over here, right? So whoever's been using these paints, they're a little messy. They could do with keeping clean a little bit more in there. Let's give some of that color down there. These are the little pops here and there that you're going to look back on and go, I'm so glad I put that little bit of color there, or, oh, why did I put that little bit of color? We kind of have some up here, right? Every time you open a paint tube up, is there anybody who's ever opened a paint tube up and you didn't get a little extra paint on the top? No, I don't think so. We all do it. Right, there's some here. It just gets on things. Typically what it gets on is your finger, and then your finger touches other stuff. And then that's it. Let's see, I'm going to put a little bit of phthalo up here too. Sticky phthalo. Phthalo's like alizarin crimson. It is so strong, it will get on everything. See, I don't want to get that underneath though. All right, I think that's all I want to do. Okay, but I do want to do a little bit of a drop shadow on here. I really do on this one. I don't want to do it on all of them, but I really do on this one. So let me mix up a little bit of ultramarine, a little bit of neutral tint. It's going to be a bluishy purple. Watercolor's challenging. It takes a long time to get comfortable with. Yes. I'm not going to say watercolors aren't difficult. I think everybody's heard my stance. Learning is difficult. Watercolors are a difficult medium to learn, but learning anything is difficult. And so I'm a little reticent to say learning watercolors is so difficult and nobody can do it or whatnot, because we all can, but learning itself is pretty difficult. Right? I don't know exactly what my shadow is going to look like here. This maybe comes out this way a little bit more. Let's see. I'm going to have it come just over that way. Learning is hard for us in general, right? So the other reason I don't like to say watercolors is hard is because as soon as you, one of the things I always used to say, I don't say it quite so much anymore, mostly because sometimes people stop listening to me. If you argue for your limitations, they're yours, for good or for bad, right? So let's not try to convince ourselves that watercolors are overly hard. Watercolors can be challenging, absolutely. I don't want to say that they can't, that they're not, or they won't be, or anything like that. But let's not mysticize it to any extent if we don't have to, because we're going to set up challenges for ourselves that we don't necessarily need. There we go. There's my drop shadow. Oh, I like it. I think that looks pretty good. I think this shadow up here looks the best. You watch my channel because I know how to make it work. Sherry, I'm on year 7 and I'm not close to getting comfortable. Whoa. Okay. Watercolor's very challenging. It takes a long time to get comfortable with. I'm going to say learning is tough. Everything is tough, right? If we approach it with the right mindset, success comes from doing. Everything you paint is a learning experience. Absolutely. There's a lot that we can learn from each painting. Absolutely. And there's a lot to realizing that I'm going to do this in air quotes, a bad painting isn't necessarily a bad painting, and a good painting isn't necessarily a good painting, because there's so much that can be learned from those times where we aren't as successful in our own minds, and there's some stuff that we can learn from those times when we are more successful in our own minds. And it's just all about trying to figure out where we fit in with everything, right? Okay, so I'm going to do this. Watch this. There's that one. Here's this one, and there's that one. All sit down. Actually, I think this one looks pretty good. These two here together, I think those look pretty good. Oh my God, you do oil. You do oils and pastels. I've never tried. I don't know anything about oils and pastels. Oh, I'm gonna do this. Okay. I'm gonna just make a bit of a darker line here, and up here I'm gonna draw in a couple of lines. I'm gonna draw in a couple of lines here. Right, this probably is the wrong pen to do this with. That's okay. Yeah, all right. I don't know if that helped anything or not. Black is so black is so dark. Liza, your time with watercolors is really limited. If you have limited time, what I would say, before you do advanced stuff, make sure you get some basics in. Those few basics will help you everywhere along the way, right? The basics being graded wash, not a flat wash. You don't learn a lot with the flat wash. A graded wash, painting basic shapes, right? And then doing some wet in wet where you're adding paint and where you're lifting paint out, like this. Right? I didn't do much of anything here, and it looks a lot like that. Right? I put on a wash, I took off some, and I put a little bit on, and you can get a lot of run out of just doing that. But a graded wash and learning how to paint a circle, cone, or it's not a circle, a sphere, right? Because if you do a sphere, that's like every piece of fruit you're going to paint, right? A cylinder, you can extrapolate to, trees, tires, fans. I'm trying to look around here. What would be a a circle. Any kind of can or bottle basically is a circle, and you'll get the shading on that. I don't know, lots of stuff like that. Sherry, you taught a patient on a ventilator to paint. Wow, she's not on it anymore, and she's still painting 70 years later. Yeah. Oh my God. Wow. That's actually amazing. All right, I'm going to sign this. Where are we at? We're at the 1 hour, 26 minute mark. I'm kind of happy with where we're at. I really like this. I like this shadow on here. I think I got lost a little bit in here. If you look at the reference photo over there, you can just see this comes way down over here. This is an exceptionally long tube. I probably could have shortened that up a little bit and cleaned it up a little bit better. It looks exceptionally long here, but I'm not going to worry about it. I like the splots of color that are on here, right? And this does look like it has some roundness. This looks like it's round. This looks like it's kind of knurled in here. This part doesn't look quite as round as everything else, but I can live with that. All in all, I think it turned out pretty well. Oh, before I let you go, I was going to show you the other kind of wet in the shading that I did. And I think this is hysterical. And I think anybody who was here last week probably heard me talking about my dog with pants painting. So look at these. But look at these pants, right? It's graded wash, graded wash, graded wash, graded wash. And then you get it wet and drop a little color in the middle and let it spread out, kind of like we did here, right? Same thing here. Get it wet, put it in, and just let it blend out and pull out. So, and that basically, a dog basically is a cylinder, right? A cylinder this way. Oop, I shouldn't have set him down. A cylinder here, with a couple of cylinders for legs. So, you know, if you don't have a whole lot of time, learning a few of those basics can really, really take you a long way in some watercolor paintings. Okay, doggy jeans. That's all I've got for you all this evening. It is 9 o'clock local time here. It is time for me to finish this up. Take a picture of this, put it on the thumbnail, and head off to bed for work in the morning. Again, thank you all for joining me in the studio this evening. Thank you all, especially for making my Wednesday evenings fun and enjoyable, and especially when I can do that with all of you and do something that I enjoy, which is watercolor painting. So thank you so much. Minty says, thank you for painting art supplies. And the dog is fine. Painting my art supplies. With that, I will be back here in the studio broadcasting for you next Wednesday. Phew, if I can think at all. Next Wednesday at 7:30 Pacific time. I'm not sure what time that's going to be in your time zone, but I'll be back here with another painting. I will put it in the comments section on my channel or in Discord what I'm going to be painting, and I'll probably do that Monday evening. So until then, thank you all so much. We'll see you next time. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.